during the news day, you got a job to do, you got a deadline, you have to, I mean, you can, we have like been like, oh my God, this is such a horrible story. But it's when you get home, I bet when Christine gets home and she sees her daughter after a story like that, it's like, holy shit, this is just such tragic news. You process it later.
Is there such a thing as someone being too informative, I guess, during an interview? Like, do they ever get too graphic to the point where you need to, like, do you want them to say really, really intense thing? Obviously to an extent, but is there a line? You know what I mean?
Capture it all, and then you can edit later.
Yeah.
So let them say whatever they want, and then you use your news judgment a little bit later as to what's appropriate for 6 o'clock dinner time, you know, that kind of thing. And you can make those editorial judgments after you've collected all the material. So kind of the idea is get everything and then decide what's airing and what is necessary, because you don't always need all those graphic details. That woman who was molested, you know, daily by her father, you didn't, just saying that is enough.
Yeah.
You know, just saying that is, people get it, and you don't have to get into the horrible things he did to her. That's enough.
As the conflicts in the Middle East have kind of progressed, I know they've started targeting journalists. Would you ever consider going back to Afghanistan?
Probably no.
Yeah.
Yeah, even then there were, you know, beheadings were happening. Kind of a funny story now that we're fine, but when we arrived, we had to fly in ourselves. Like, it wasn't, there wasn't, because, you know, military is taxpayer funded, so we had to buy all of our own gear, fly in commercially into Afghanistan, which is kind of a trip. And when we got there, we kind of assumed that we were going to be at the Air Force Base, and then we were going to catch a flight with the troops to where we'd be stationed. Well, we got there, and it was like, you know, it was the commercial airport, and we were like, how do we get to where we're going? And there was nobody there to meet us or anything like that. We had to figure this out all on our own, and nobody spoke English. So we, you know, and journalists were being kidnapped at that point. So we were, and still are. So we were like, well, we generally knew, you could kind of see, like, way off in the distance, the base. But it was, you know, a good mile. And so we had all of our gear. So we're like, well, I guess we have to taxi. And so we found this young guy with, now in hindsight, what were we thinking, with a cell phone. And we borrowed his cell phone. Nothing was working for us. And so then he, like, you know, in very broken English, it was just like, taxi, taxi. And so he guided us over to this old man with who had a taxi, and we had done a bunch of reading about one of the ways that they were kidnapping journalists early on. They'd get you in the cab, there were no handles to get out, so you would be trapped in the cab, and then they could drive you wherever they wanted to. So first thing we did was we checked for handles, we made sure they worked before we got in, and then we, you know, we finally get over to the, long story short, we get over to the base, and we're at the base, and, you know, no Vermonters there. This guy from Iowa who, you know, National Guardsman from Iowa, was like, in a thick, like, Midwestern accent, was like, who the hell are you guys? What are you doing over here? And we're like, are there any Vermonters here? And we're like, can you let us in? We'd really like to be on the inside of this gate. And he was like, oh, I can't just let you in. So they ended up radioing and letting us in. But there was, and then when the Vermonter finally took a chopper over, we had to stay the night at this place. And he met us the next day. He was like, how did you guys get here? And we were like, taxi. And he was like, oh my God, you took a taxi? And we were like, he's like, well, thank God you made it. And we were like, oh my God. So right off the bat, you know, you were kind of put in danger because of kidnappings. I don't think I'd go back. I think it was sort of a one and done deal for me. I experienced it. You know, I was proud of the work that we accomplished there, but I don't think I'd want to experience it again.
Nothing else? Dylan, you thinking there?
Target Dylan.
Good questions, guys. Nice job.
Thank
All right.
you.
Yeah, thank you.
Great.